Alrighty, so another Scream movie has finally been released. Return to the big screen, Scream 7. Sidney Prescott. Neve Campbell has returned to probably her most iconic role of all time, the best final girl in horror history. And the biggest question that I have for you out there, is Scream 7 any good? Let's discuss it. Yes, welcome back to the Porter Says podcast, everybody. My name is Heath. Thank you so much for tuning in to another one. And of course, I'm going to be talking about the newly released Scream 7. This is its opening day. I just got back from the theater, and I'm here to tell you about the good and the bad of Scream 7. I am a massive fan of the Scream franchise. It's easily the most consistent horror franchise out there. Scream 1 is my favorite horror movie of all time. It's my favorite of that franchise. And Scream 7's had a bit of controversy behind it. You know, talking about the whole thing with Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega not returning, and then Neve Campbell finally deciding to come back, and you know, I think they decided to give her a bigger paycheck. So she's back. Now, I'm actually going to get the negatives out of the way first. This is going to be spoiler free since the movie's just come out and there's really been no marketing for it no marketing for it really. Like, not too much at least. Now, I'll get the plot out of the way, you know, for those who want to know. It's very light. I'm just going to read it here for you. When a new Ghostface killer emerges in the quiet town where Sidney Prescott has built her new life, her darkest fears are realized as her daughter becomes the next target. Determined to protect her family, Sidney must face the horrors of her past to put an end to the bloodshed once and for all. So yeah, I'm going to be pretty brief, about as brief as that synopsis was. So, with the negatives, first off, there are obviously very loud jump scares in this movie, you know, when the music quietens down and then boom, comes out of nowhere. They've never been effective, and to this day, they're still not. I think the movie is a really, really great film up until the third act. The third act starts off pretty well. There's a lot of tension, but once it gets into the killer reveals and the motivations of the killer, kind of fell apart a little bit. I thought the killer reveals were not only very disappointing for me personally, but I found the motive of these two killers, which I hope that isn't really a spoiler per se, but I mean, if you've seen the Scream franchise, you kind of already know there's going to be at least two killers in this film. But to me, I found their motivation pretty stupid and poorly written. It wasn't clear enough to me. One killer reveal is better than the other, I will say that. But it just, I don't know. To me, it was probably the worst killer reveals and the worst motive of the killers that I think I've seen in this franchise. And of course, there's characters that you really don't care about too much or don't have enough development. So when, you know, Ghostface eventually ends people's lives by stabbing them or doing whatever he does, there's certain characters where I'm like, well, you're just there to be killed. You're not really here to do anything beyond that. And I get it. That's typically what horror movies do, but I was hoping for a little more. And I that's all the negatives I have to say. I have quite a few positives. Neve Campbell, for one. Loved seeing her come back as Sidney Prescott. I really enjoyed that. I love Neve Campbell so much, and I love her as Sidney, so just seeing her upon the big screen once again was awesome. I think the performances from everybody else, you know, from the cast, is really good, actually. I quite enjoyed them. And the kills are pretty good. I think they're really solid. They're not super gory, but they're still pretty effective in my opinion. And I think the film, as I kind of said about the third act, has a decent amount of tension. I liked the opening scene quite a bit, where we have the two people going to this like Airbnb of Stu Marker's house. Yeah, I really enjoyed that opening scene. That was filled with a lot of tension. There was quite a few shots of Ghostface kind of coming in and out of the shadows, and it was very Michael Myers-like to me. What else do I have to say about this movie? Now, this was announced ages ago. I hope this isn't really considered a spoiler, but if it is, maybe plug your ears right now. If you don't know, we have Matthew Lillard return. I won't really go into detail about what his return is like, but I will say that it's got pros and cons to it. Pro is it's awesome to see Matthew Lillard back in this role as Stu Macher, really. But the con is that it's not exactly in the way you would think, or at least you would hope. They really had me in a good chunk of the film of like, is he going to be actually around and alive? And then it's revealed in the third act or whenever it is that he's not exactly what you think. But nonetheless, I think I just like seeing him come back. And, yeah. I mean, we get Courtney Cox as Gale Weathers returning, and then we get the characters of Chad and Mindy back, which I will not lie, I enjoyed seeing them come back. Mindy was nowhere near as annoying as she was in Scream 5 and 6. I actually kind of enjoyed her character a lot more this time. And Chad's a lovable guy. Mason Gooding is really good in this role, so I was happy to see him. Another thing about Scream 7 in general is that I think it's well directed. I think it's a really well directed movie. The shots aren't like super impressive. There's no like amazing cinematography or anything, but it's a well shot movie. I think there's some like pretty good shots, especially earlier on involving a school theater. One of the kills takes place there, and I thought that was really well done, and that was probably one of the more brutal kills in the film. Of course, you get the scene where with Mindy going around doing her Randy impression and saying, who's the killer and what your motive would be, all her suspects, all that type of fun stuff that you would expect from a Scream film. Overall, I really enjoyed Scream 7. I had a lot of fun with this movie. It could have been a little bit better. There was some definitely disappointing aspects to it, and the third act kind of let it down a little bit. But it wasn't to the point where I thought the third act was like god-awful or anything. Like, it was fun enough, and it's about what you would expect from a Scream movie, a third act of a Scream film. So for me, I would say that it's a decent amount of pros and cons, but I think the good outweighs the bad for me personally. And that's going to wrap it up. If you end up seeing Scream 7, let me know down below what you think of it. And if you are a Scream fan, are you going to go see it? Or if you're just a casual movie fan and you've seen the Scream movies, I definitely recommend it. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. Be sure to check out my merch store. There's a lot of cool stuff on there. And yeah, farewell, guys. Have a good one.